And to our top story, the US presidential race and the choice of the Minnesota governor, Tim Walz, as the Democratic vice presidential candidate. About an hour ago, the Harris campaign posted video of the VP calling Walz to let him know he'd gotten the job. The two are set now to hold a campaign rally in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, around about an hour from now. It'll be their first appearance together as running mates, and the Trump campaign is wasting no time portraying them as one and the same.
Kamala Harris just doubled down on her radical vision for America by tapping another left-wing extremist as her VP nominee. Tim Walz will be a rubber stamp for Kamala's dangerously liberal agenda.
Now, Walz has already been sharpening his own attacks on Donald Trump, including this comment on CNN.
Listen to the guy. He's talking about Hannibal Lecter and shocking sharks and just whatever crazy thing pops into his mind. And I thought we just give him way too much credit. And I think one of the things is when you just ratchet down some of the the scariness or whatever and just name it what it is. I got to tell you, Jake, my observation on this is: have you ever seen the guy laugh? That seems very weird to me, that an adult can go through 6.5 years of being in the public eye. If he has laughed, it's at someone, not with someone. That is weird behavior, and I don't think you call it anything else.
A reaction from both sides. Chuck Rocha is the Democratic strategist and former campaign advisor for Bernie Sanders. Evan Siegfried is a Republican strategist and commentator. We can see sort of how this all comes together. Let's start with you, Evan. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, of it all, is there anything nice, just to start off with, that you can say about Tim Walz?
I think he's very plain-spoken, and he is a very nice guy. I have nothing against him, to be honest with you. What you played with the Trump campaign already out attacking him, I think that is the wrong strategy, because Tim Walz is just the nice older uncle, sort of a la Tim Kaine. He brings nothing to the table, and that really works with the 1% of the electorate that is needed to win this election. So I think it's sort of an uninspired pick, which, yes, it fits in the do no harm, but it gets you nothing with the one key group of voters that you need.
Gets you nothing, Chuck. Gets you nothing. A wasted opportunity. I'm interpreting, Evan, what I'm saying, but a wasted opportunity gets you nothing.
Well, I would push back on that and say that he gets you exactly what Evan describes. A nice white guy from the Midwest. And you know what you need to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania is a lot of old white men that look just like Tim Walz. And the number one thing in picking a vice president, and I've run presidential campaigns, to Evan's point again, is do no harm. Folks don't show up to vote for Walz. They show up to vote for either Trump or Harris. And you don't want to be like the Trump pick and in the press every day with something else negative that you said 10 years ago. You want a boring white guy who can look like other boring white guys in the Midwest and can deliver those blue wall states.
That's not a very nice thing to say. But Evan,
I'm sorry?
He's right though, isn't he? He's right though. In a sense.
I would just say
let me finish.
No, if the boring white guy worked, we would be talking about the end of the second term of Vice President Tim Kaine's time in office. You needed somebody more dynamic. And I just don't think when you go out and talk to these voters that you need to win in the places like Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, that Tim Walz pushes them over the top. It's leaving it on the table, whereas Mark Kelly or Josh Shapiro might have been a better choice.
If the goal here is almost the political version of the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm at its very minimum. Evan, do you think that the Republican ticket needs to now tweak its strategy?
It absolutely needs to tweak its strategy. Its strategy was for Joe Biden and to hammer home everything on Joe Biden and about inflation. Well, Democratic firms and other firms that I've spoken to have polled whether or not the inflation label that has really bogged down and the cost of living label that has really hurt the Biden presidency is something that voters associate Kamala Harris with. And they don't. Only 23% of voters do. I think that's a very good thing for the vice president going into facing Donald Trump. At the same time, Donald Trump for the last 16 days has been on the defensive whether it be over J.D. Vance's comments about cat ladies, to his own comments last week at the NABJ, to just not getting that much attention from the media. And what attention he gets isn't positive. From a strategic standpoint, forget that I'm a Republican. I think it's been a very bad 16 days, and the campaign has not worked well. And the candidate has been gross, and it's just not a professional organization right now.
On this question, Chuck, there is one, if you will, Achilles heel to Tim Walz, and it is this business of the riots that took place in Minnesota. And an interesting question of, was he too late to call the guard? Donald Trump says he came in and he was the one who called the guard. Now, let's not get sort of bogged down. Oh, we've lost Evan, but you and I will continue regardless. Let's not get bogged down on he said, she said. There is a perception that Tim Walz was behind the decision, was behind the curve when making the decisions.
I think that's easily explained, but you're right, exactly right, that he'll have to answer that question. But if that's the question, that's the worst thing that they have, then I think he's in a good place, because he, Tim Walz, is a command sergeant major in the National Guard and joined when he was 19 to defend this country, when he was 17. So serving himself as military in the U.S. military, I think is a very big deal.
But interestingly, both vice presidential candidates have served with great honor and respect in the national forces, which is very interesting and very different in many ways, isn't it, Evan?
Yes, I think it is very interesting, and I'm always thankful that we will have somebody on the ticket on both sides of the aisle who has served and understands what it means to serve. We are seeing already today.
Oh, we are having difficulty.
He has embellished. I don't know the veracity of that.
Evan, have you paid your electricity bill?
I don't know the veracity of those claims. Yes.
We're having.
I think it's much more my internet, and that Verizon conspires against us.
I'm going to thank both of you because the line is poor. But before we do, Chuck, I started off by asking Evan to say something nice about Tim Walz. Tell us something nice about about J.D. Vance. Let's elevate this a little bit more than just Yarbook. Anything nice you can say about him?
I can, and it's very personal for me. I grew up in a trailer house in rural East Texas. And just like JD, I had a mamaw and a papaw that literally saved my life when I was a little boy by helping take care of me, because my teenage mother had to work several jobs. So I know what it's like and what JD went through, and I appreciate him and what he talks about with his mamaw and his papaw.
I'm grateful to you both. Thank you very much indeed.